considered owner-occupied?
Great question. I was waiting for that to be asked. What happens is, if your buyers are kids or children that the parents are helping them purchase this home, well, anytime you're saying that you're an owner-occupant, whoever is on the contract is certifying that they're going to live in this home. So being that they're parents and they're not going to live in this home, you don't want to put them on contract initially. So here's what I would do. I would put the contract in the child's name. Proof of funds, you want to submit a gift letter from their parents. Okay? When we accept the bid and offer, that's when you want to add a non-occupying co-buyer. There's a form on our website that you go to blbresource.com under the Forms tab. It is called the non-occupying co-buyer or co-borrower, I think is what it's called. But that's where you would put your the parent's name. Then they're back on contract, but they're not as an owner-occupant, and you're clearly stating that they're non-occupants. So that's how you submit an offer if you have a parent purchasing on behalf of the child. But of course, the child's name has to be on the contract because they're the ones that are owner-occupying. Does it help?
Child going to sign that?
Child's going to sign a certificate of owner-occupancy. They're going to sign a contract and everything. Yep.
They're 18 at least.
Of course. All right. Okay. I think we're going to take a break. As mentioned, it's 12 o'clock. So we're going to take a really, really quick 5-minute break, and I'm going to start 5 minutes on the dot at 12:07. So please be back to your seats at 12:07. I still have lots of questions. Yes, sir. Gary, how you doing? Great to meet you too. Thank you.
What's up, dude? What's up, girl? Hey, much?
So how's Sierra Vista going?
Good. Busy.
But that's just what's I haven't done it. They don't respond. It's not like
How are you? Good. Can I bring you that Well, tell her, actually I could lie, I could say, well, she wouldn't give me the bottle of wine because, tell her, I'll tell her I wouldn't give me the bottle of wine because she was afraid.
That's why. There's so much thought on it.
But anyway, we went on a second time. I came home.
Yeah, that might change. When you see a lot of fun happening, you might go back to basics.
I did a bango.
After the construction, that name is
You don't eat stove. You don't eat
well, they're not doing it. That's what I'm drinking. The fire on their own after the boy does, but it's just like it was like my it's the same thing as a carry fire. Because I'm actually so you were thinking of
That was before it got on. Yeah. Are you ready? You're right now. It's just everything.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, we just got that second time property. So that's a good deal for you. Obviously, we would all like to see them business side, but at least they still pay you.
I don't think he knew. He didn't know where we were going. No, I was thinking. Let's get all our money together.
There it is. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can we please get back to our seats? If I can have your attention, because we really need to get started again. And I can't start if everybody is talking to each other. I know it's awesome to socialize, and it's one of the great things we do as real estate agents. I love that part of my career. But I only have to technically till 1 o'clock, so if I really can have your attention, I've got a lot to go through. So, are you ready? Everybody ready? All right, finance types. Let's talk about those. There are 3 finance types that you're going to be looking at when you see a HUD home as listed on HUDHomestore.com. And those are insured, insurable. That means when you see the acronym IN, that means that this particular house qualifies for your standard 203B FHA financing loan. Okay? It also means that it may be eligible for 203K financing. That means that there are no minimum property standard repairs. There's really not much wrong in regards to, nothing wrong in regards to the safety and hazard of the property. Okay? So that's insurable. Now the other one is the IE, which is insurable with escrow. What this means is it qualifies for the FHA 203B standard FHA loan, but it has minimum property standard repairs of $5,000 or less. Okay, what these repairs are, these are technically put in the repair escrow. They are identified by the appraiser when the FHA appraiser goes out and appraises these properties. That list of things is noted to you, and it is repairs that need to get done for the particular property to be insurable by FHA. Now, keep this in mind, that these repairs are never a credit to the buyer. Okay? It's never paid by HUD. All it happens is it gets the amount, whatever that amount is, let's say it's $2,000, it gets added to the person's loan amount, and the repairs are done after the close of escrow. Please remember, no repairs are done prior to the close of escrow. It never happens and never will. It's always after the close of escrow, and anytime you have those two, insurable or insurable with escrow, they both have a 30-day owner occupancy priority bidding period, as I mentioned, as part of the benefits. Please keep in mind that the first 10 days of these insurable listings, there's what's called a free look period. Technically, it means that the bid deadline does not happen until the 10th day. So the first 10 days of that listing, you will see that if you were to submit a bid, you will not hear anything until the 11th day. So if your buyer is the winning bidder, you'll get notified on the 11th day of that listing. Okay, so the first 10 days of the listing, insured or insurable with escrow, is a free look period. Technically, your owner occupants get to view the house, figure out if they want to purchase it or if they want to bid on it, and then they would bid. Anyone that bids during that time, it doesn't matter when you put the bid in that first 10 days, all of the bids are looked at simultaneously, right then, not simultaneously, they're looked at all at once, okay? So, pretty much that's how insured and insured with escrow work. Now you've got the third one, which is the uninsurable, which you'll see UI. What this means is that these properties do not qualify for your standard 203B financing. They also will not qualify for 203K financing unless it's noted. Some of these properties will say eligible for FHA 203K, but in all essence, that means that these particular properties have over $5,000 in repairs needed under the minimum property standard requirements for it to be insurable. So that's why it is listed as uninsured. The only thing you can do with these properties is either pay cash or go conventional financing, or if it's eligible for 203K, you can get 203K financing on that particular home. Okay, the difference with uninsurable and insurable listings is the uninsurable have only a 5-day owner occupancy exclusivity bidding period. Okay, so please keep that in mind. The first 5 days are only for owner occupants. If there are no waiting bidders at the 5-day mark, the 6th day, then it goes into daily bidding deadlines and it's open to all bidders, including investors. Okay? Now, let's talk about 3 listing periods. As I mentioned, there's 3. There's lottery, there's exclusive, and there's extended. Okay? Here's what it is. The first thing you'll see is the lottery listing period. The lottery listing period is any home that is uninsured goes through a lottery listing period for 7 days. Automatically, any uninsured home. Okay? That's why anything that's in the lottery phase will not be on your MLS. Okay, so keep that in mind. Anytime you see a lottery listing on HUDhomestore.com and you go to MLS, you will not see that listing on MLS. Because during the lottery phase, there are no commissions paid. So nothing is listed on the MLS. This is where insured properties that are in revitalized areas, okay, for Good Neighbor Next Door and nonprofits and government entities, that's who can purchase these particular homes during the first 7 days. Okay? And of course, you got to keep in mind that all uninsured properties, again, are listed. Whether they're in a revitalized area or not, they are still listed for nonprofits and government entities for the first 7 days. Okay? Now, after that period is over, then it goes into an exclusive listing period. This is where all your insured properties go through the 30-day listing period. The first 30 days where the owner-occupant has that exclusivity bidding period, that is called the exclusive bidding period, the exclusive listing period. Okay? So, for uninsured property, that exclusive listing period is that first 5 days. Remember, this always relates to the owner-occupancy exclusivity bidding period. That's why the word exclusive is in there, as it's called exclusive listing period. Now, the last one that comes in after this is the extended. So anytime you see extended listing period, you will know that this particular house is available for investors and open to all bidders. And it's up to 180 days it gets listed under that category. Okay? So anything beyond the owner occupancy exclusivity listing period is known as the extended listing period, where it is automatically open to all bidders. So whenever you want to know if your investor can bid on a property, if it says extended, that means they can. If it says exclusive, that means they cannot. Very simple to categorize and figure out. Okay, so how are your bids submitted? They're submitted on HUDhomestore.com, of course. That's the first place and the only place. We don't take Arizona MLS contracts. We don't take California MLS. None of your real estate contracts. All of this happens through an electronic bid, and the one-page HUD contract is used, plus the addendums if necessary. That's it. Okay. The broker must be registered, of course, on HUDhomestore.com. So once your broker gets their NAID number, then you, as an agent, must register underneath your broker on HUDhomestore.com. So once your broker were to get that NAID number, they would go on HUDhomestore.com first, register themselves. Registering means just getting a username and password. It's only a 5-minute time that it takes you to register. You set up a username, password, security questions, you register. Okay, that's all that is. And then, of course, you submit your bids online prior to the bid deadline and time. So what happens after a bid submission is done? here's what you want to make sure. You want to make sure that you get a bid acknowledgement screen. You will see this, which has your review. It says, your bid has been successfully submitted. If you don't get something like this, you did not submit your bid. Okay? So a lot of people think that they're submitting a bid when they actually haven't received it. You must get this. I would highly recommend you save it on your desktop. It's a PDF file that comes up. You can email it to your buyer to let them know that your bid was successfully submitted, so that way they're aware. You also get to know the details, a bid summary of what you submitted. So that way, when you go to write the contract, you just take this information off of this, put it on your contract so you don't have any discrepancies between your electronic bid and your contract. It's as simple as that. Okay, so bidder functions. Now let's say you wanted to know what the status of your bid was. It's very simple. Since not everybody gets notified of their bid status, you have to go in manually under bidder functions. Okay, so once you log in to your HUDhomestore.com, you go to bidder functions and click on that. That takes you to the search for bids area. Now, once you want to search for bids, you can actually just click on search right there, and it gives you all of your bids that you've submitted for any property. Or if you want to know the specific way to search for a specific FHA case number, then all you would have to do is put the FHA case number, confirmation number, or the property case number, or the social security number, and you can check by that and get the status of the bid at that time. Okay? So, what are the certain things or acronyms that you see when you're looking to check your status of your bid? Well, you have three possibilities. Generally, there's three possibilities. There could be one more, but that's a rare occurrence. I'm not going to go there right now. Three of them are accepted, which is AC. That's where you throw your hat up in the air and you do the dance, the happy dance. That means you got accepted. Okay? The other thing you'll see is other bids selected. That's OBS. When you see OBS, that's your red flag that your bidder was not won, and your bid was not accepted, and that there was another bidder accepted. It's going into contract ratification. That means it's done. Pretty much that person that bid on it, your buyer, has no opportunity unless they put themselves as a backup bidder, and if that original one falls out of escrow, they go back to the backup bidders that are eligible and they contact them. Okay? The third one you'll see is CA. That means cancel. A lot of people see canceled and they get alarmed. But that's just HUD's way of telling you very nicely that your bid was reviewed, but it was rejected. It wasn't accepted. So they use the word cancel. We've kind of told them that cancel is kind of a harsh word, sometimes, because people think that when they say cancel, that your bid was not submitted. That's what I thought in the beginning when I was first looking at HUD homes. But it just technically means that your bid wasn't accepted. Okay? Well, here's the difference between 2 or 3. Great question. CA, at least you have a glimmer of hope. Okay? That means your bid was not accepted and nobody else's bid was accepted. Nobody's technically. Unless it says other bids selected. Now, agents, listing agents, am I accurate on that? When it says CA?
Right. Then you could even be the backup.
Exactly. So that means that no winning bidder was selected. You'll see, when you see OBS, that's when you're done. You start crying in the bedroom, having a long time, and but you just got to move on. Pick yourselves up and move on. So that's pretty much the main difference. CA means that you still have an opportunity. You can go back and rebid on that house as soon as it comes back on HUDhomestore.com. So I hope that kind of gives you an idea of what to look for when you're bidding and what to find out. Now, of course, how are bids accepted? They're accepted based on the highest net to HUD. That means that, of course, we take the price minus the commissions and seller credit. That's the net to HUD. There's a minimum threshold that is given to us by HUD that we don't disclose, but that's what we go off when we're accepting bids. Now, remember, when an owner-occupant bids on more than one property, this is very important. When that same owner-occupant bids on more than one property, they have to realize that they must like that property as equal as to any other property they bid on. Okay? Because when HUD looks at these properties, they're only going to award one property to that particular owner occupant. They're not going to give you a choice and say, hey, you've got 3 winning bids, which one you want? It doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. So they're going to award the one that HUD thinks, draw the hat, this is the one we're going to award to you out of the 4 that you bid on. And your buyer needs to equally like every home that they bid on. Otherwise, they're going to be in a cancellation situation. And you don't want that to happen. So encourage your buyers to make sure that when they're bidding on a home, they really love the home as much as they did the home that they bid on yesterday. Okay? Okay, so how will you be notified if your bid is accepted? I mentioned this before. HUDHomestore.com will notify you. We as a company will also notify the buyers and the agents. Closing costs paid automatically by HUD. This is important because this cost you would want to take out of your seller credit because you don't need to ask for the 3% if you don't need it. Because anything that's not used just goes away. It's not a benefit to your buyer. It's not a credit. It's not refunded to your buyer or anything like that. So whatever portion of that seller credit that you negotiate in the contract that's not used, it goes away. So automatically paid for proration of property taxes, any special assessments, HOA fees, utility bills are all paid for by HUD. Settlement fee, which is the closing fee, escrow fee, as I mentioned, as a benefit, is paid by HUD. Your buyer, however, is responsible for their own title, so keep that in mind. And the title could be used as a seller credit, part of the seller credit. So you can include that as part of the seller credit if you're negotiating that. Recording fees and charges for the deed are paid for by HUD, and the document fee. So those things up there are paid for HUD. You don't have to include them in your seller credit when you're negotiating that 3%, or if you want to negotiate. Commissions. Here's how HUD pays commissions. To the selling agents, it's paid up to 6%. Of course, I mean not to the selling agents. 6% is paid distributed between the listing agent and the selling agent, buyer's agent. Listing agent gets 3% or unless otherwise notified. So certain properties will have a $1,250 minimum commission on them. Not all of them do. And then certain properties are just going to be straight across 3%. So the listing agent gets paid 3% or unless otherwise noted. Selling agent gets paid up to 3% or unless otherwise noted. So why we say up to? It's because you as an agent, selling agent, has the opportunity to decrease their commission by a few dollars or whatever it is you want to maybe be aggressive on your bid. So that way your net gets adjusted and you have a higher net to HUD. So you can kind of play around with these numbers. Once you start bidding on homes, you'll be more comfortable in knowing the whole system and how bids are submitted. It's really simple. It may look intimidating at first, but it's really not. It's probably the easiest home that you will go into contract with. Now, getting into contract, in general, real estate is not the easy part. Escrow periods are always going to be rocky nowadays in anything, not just HUD homes and any REOs that you're out there. It's just not really smooth time. So there's a lot of hands involved. So that's how commissions work. Overbidding. I'm going to take your attention on that one. I don't want you looking at the screen on this one, because this is important. Okay, here's how overbidding works. I'll give you examples. First example. Let's say if your list price on a home is $100,000, and your buyer loves this property. They want to be aggressive on a bid. They want to bid higher. And let's say they want to bid $110,000 because there's inventory is limited and we want this house. Well, if your buyer is coming in with FHA financing, okay, so your buyer's an FHA borrower, they're bidding $110,000 on the home, that's $10,000 over the list price. What happens is your buyer needs to be aware that they will have to come up with that $10,000 in a form of cash on top of their down payment, 3.5%, on top of their closing costs. It's really important. You've got to set your buyer's expectations correctly. That's probably the most successful part of your escrow, of your contract, of anything, when you set your buyer's expectations correctly from the beginning. No surprises. Buyers do not want to be surprised that, oh my God, I'm going to pay $10,000 on a pocket now? You know I don't have this. You know this is my funds and all that. They're your buyer. You would probably know that already. So for your professionalism and your expertise, you want to show the buyer that you want to set their correct expectations. Okay?
Yeah.
So they have to realize that that $10,000 is coming out of their pocket. HUD will not renegotiate the transaction. They will not lower the price. And here's the main reason for that. Because the FHA appraisal shows $100,000. So if your bidder is coming in at $110,000, the lending cannot go over the appraised value. It's as simple as that. So keep that in mind. Now, let's say your buyer is coming in with FHA financing, and there's now a price reduction on the home. Okay? So example 2 is a price reduction. Original list price is $100,000. Now the price has been reduced to $80,000. It's a great buy. Your buyer's excited. They love this house. They want to get into this house. They want to bid now $90,000. They want to go $10,000 over the asking price now. Now here's what happens on that case. Because there's a price reduction and there's an appraisal that supports the value of $100,000, your buyer then will no longer have to come in with that extra $10,000. Okay, because there's an appraisal that supports that $90,000. So in that case, your buyer would not have to come in out of pocket. Okay, keep in mind, if the overbidding happens and they have to come out of pocket, they will have to show proof of funds of where they're getting this money from. Okay, so that's something that you want to also relay to your buyer. Just because they say, "Oh yeah, I've got the $10,000 sitting in a bedroom mattress," that doesn't qualify as proof of funds showing that they have that. Okay, so the lender's going to ask for it, we're going to ask for it, so be prepared for that. Now, here's another scenario before I take your question, if it's just related on overbidding. Here's what happens if your buyer is coming in with conventional financing. Now, any other type of financing besides FHA, your buyer needs to be aware that they have to order their own appraisal. So if the original list price was $100,000 and they're bidding $110,000, but they're coming in with conventional financing or something that's non-FHA, whether it be VA, rural housing, whatever the other programs are out there, they have to get their own appraisal. And if that appraisal comes in at the $110,000 mark, then they're good to go. They don't have to submit any extra money for overbidding. But if it comes in less, then they have two options. They either have to cancel the transaction at that time, and they'll get a refund of their earnest money for owner occupants, or they can submit that difference in the form of cash at that time, show proof of funds that they do have it. So that's how it works when you're talking about overbidding. Now I'm going to take questions of anybody that has anything just on overbidding because it's such an important part if I haven't answered it in these examples that I gave you. Yes, ma'am?
So you have that $100,000 appraisal and then the price is reduced to 80. What if during that time, and people want to bid the 90, that appraisal expires?
Great question.
They get this contract accepted and then all of a sudden it expires and the lender is kind of counting on that.
Okay, excellent question. What happens at that point, because the appraisal is only good for 4 months for lending purposes, you as an agent must realize you know what the original list date, the original appraisal date was. It's there on the HUD Home Store site. So based on your expertise, you would want to consult your buyer that, hey, there's an expiration coming up on this appraisal, or the appraisal's expired. So if you do overbid, even though the original appraisal supports the value, we have to order a new appraisal. Okay, and they have to pay for a new appraisal. So the buyer needs to know, it's setting their expectations correctly. Letting them know that they have to order a new appraisal, and at that time, if the appraisal comes in at $90,000, they're good. If the appraisal comes in at $100,000, they're good. Anything less than that, they have to come in with the overbid amount at that time. Yes, ma'am? The buyer. The new appraisal, correct. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
You made a point that if the appraisal came in and it was owner occupied, they got their earnest money back. If it was not owned by owner occupied investor offered, would they not get their earnest money back?
I take that back because on FHA financing, investors can't bid on them anyway because they don't have FHA financing. So that doesn't apply for FHA financing. Conventional though, some investors might have to go conventional. At that time, they need to realize that if the conventional appraisal does not come in at that price that they're wanting, 9 times out of 10, the investor will not get his earnest money deposit back. No. That's one thing. Investors are always held to higher standards than owner-occupants in the eyes of HUD. HUD knows that these investors know what the comps should be out there. They've got experience in buying homes out there as investments, so they would realize that this is what the amount is on that particular house. Yes, ma'am.
The good neighbors next door, can they be retired?
Can they be retired? I don't think so. They have to be active, as far as I know.
They definitely have to be active, and their human resources or their principal or whatever department has to sign that they are currently active in that field and in the neighborhood or area servicing where the home is. So if you have a Tucson police officer, he must purchase in the city limits of Tucson.
If they're teachers, they have to.
If they're a Sunnyside teacher, they need to purchase in Sunnyside. If they're TUSD, they need to purchase in TUSD.
Okay. Any questions on overbidding? I'm not going to take any other questions about anything else, please, because I need to get past my presentation. Overbidding?
You just mentioned about 9 out of 10 times the investors get their earnest money refunded. What circumstances, or that they don't get refunded? What circumstances would that remaining 10% be that they might get their money back?
That 1%? Because there's 99% chance they won't. Oh, did I say 9 out of 10? I take that back. 9.99 out of 10 will not get it back. It's a case-by-case scenario. Off the top of my head, I can't give you an exact scenario that will get the refund back. Again, any questions on overbidding? If not, I'm going to move on. No? Okay. Let's get back to this presentation. How can you cancel your bids? Very simple. If it's prior to bid acceptance, you would want to cancel it through the HUDhomestore.com. You can modify, cancel, or withdraw your bids at any time on HUDhomestore.com. If it's after bid acceptance, then you have to download a cancellation form off our website at blbresources.com. That's when you would complete that form, give reasoning to why you want to cancel, and have supporting documentations as to why you're canceling, and submit it to us, and we review it within 48 or 72 hours. But if it's not, if your cancellation request does not have the required supporting documentation or the reasoning, your EMD is automatically forfeited. So keep that in mind. You have to submit those in order to cancel your bid and get this money deposited back. Here are the fax numbers where you would cancel or submit your cancellation forms. Please keep in mind this is all available to you on the 1S Seller Broker Handbook that you can download off our website, so I won't spend too much time on this slide. HUD's as-is policy, very important. I know you missed it. HUD, download the 1S Seller Broker Handbook. That has all that information in there. On HUD's as-is policy, very simple. HUD makes no representations or warranties concerning the condition of the property and will make no repairs to the property. So HUD will not repair any properties. They won't give credits to the properties. They will not pay for any repairs, and they will not repair any properties. So HUD never repairs any properties, and they will never repair any properties. So HUD does not repair any properties. They will not repair any properties. All right, let's stand on the side. HUD will not repair any properties. No, absolutely not. Okay, so I think I'm clear on that one. All right, I'm glad. Okay, moving forward. Tim, I'd like to have you come up here really quick and brief and to the point on home inspections, because he is the person that knows the ins and outs of this.
All right. We get a lot of questions on the home inspection process because it is a little bit different. Something to keep in mind is that it's not a contingency. As soon as there's an accepted offer on a HUD home, it goes pending because it's not contingent on that inspection period. The buyer does have 15 days to perform inspections for their due diligence. However, they don't have the option to cancel and get a return of their earnest deposit. Now, Inspections are not a problem on a HUD home. They're different, but if you learn the process, it's real easy to navigate. The first thing that you want to do when you get an accepted bid is you want to call the electric company that services that home, Trico, TEP, or other, and find out how long the electricity has been on. If it's more than 6 months, then you're going to have to get a Pima County or City of Tucson inspection in order to get clearance. And that depends on whether it's in the city or not, Pima County or Tucson. If it's been more than 6 months, wait until you get your ratified contract back. You know you have to order the inspection, and you order the inspection through the city or the county at that time. In fact, your buyer orders that inspection, because the field service management company that handles the physical aspects of the home, they're giving permission to the buyer to turn on utilities and to order that inspection. Then what you want to do is you want to schedule your home inspection within a 72-hour period and your appraisal at that same time if it's not an FHA borrower, conventional USDA or VA, because that's when you're going to have utilities on. And a lot of times we hear agents get tripped up with the 72 hours. If you think about it, it's about 68 hours more than you're ever going to need for a home inspection. I've been on a 4-hour home inspection and it was way too long as it was. So it's all about coordinating that time. You get the accepted contract, call the electric company so you're prepared on whether or not to order that inspection. As soon as you get the ratified contract, which is going to be a few days later, call all utility companies, schedule the utilities on at the same time and off at the same time, and make sure that works for the appraiser and the home inspector. And if you do that coordination and not try to do them at different times, it is a very simple process. One thing to keep in mind is with our Helping Hands program, the local listing brokers here in town, call us. We're your first point of contact. Let us walk you through each step of the way in this inspection period, and we'll go over that a little bit more in detail on how we've had success navigating that. And then the last point with inspections, like Ray mentioned, is setting your buyer's expectations. We remember some of our first buyer sales and we didn't say anything about the appraisal cost or a home warranty. And then once we're in escrow with the buyer and they have more out-of-pocket expense than they thought, they feel like everyone's against them. When you get to a HUD home and you get in the driveway and you have that listing there, let them know, now this is a HUD home. They're great value, but something to keep in mind, you may have to come out of pocket around $250 to turn on the utilities. But let's find out if you love this house and you want to live there, and then we can discuss that at that time. And the good news is you're going to save that money a few times over with not having to pay for the appraisal for an FHA buyer or the reduction in escrow expense to the buyer.
Excellent. Thank you very much. That's why I have to say, I think you have questions.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Electrical's off for over 6 months. Who pays the fee to the county?
That's going to be the extra $200 out of pocket. It's $100 to have that inspection done with the county or the city, and the buyer pays that out of pocket, and they won't be able to recoup that expense, but they'll be making it up by saving on the appraisal and the escrow costs.
Tim, if the repairs are required in order to get utilities turned on, will HUD pay for repairs?
HUD will not pay for repairs. There's a lot of good options with that.
Great question.
There's a lot of good options. With an FHA loan, you can add the amount of repairs needed into escrow repair to be performed after the close of escrow. Now, if you're wanting to get through the inspection period without being able to have those repairs done, get with the home inspector that's up to speed on HUD homes, just like we are, and make sure that they have a generator to activate that electricity. Yes?
How good are your PCRs? Are they pretty reliable?
They're very general. It's a bonus inspection. It's from the field service management company, and it lets you know what their inspector found. It's a nice document to have with you during the showing because you're getting some information you don't usually see on other real estate owned properties. You also have the appraisal with the repair escrow amount or saying that it's insured, and that's a huge bonus because you know up front that there was an appraisal done and nothing failed if it is insured.
What would we find the termite report?
The termite report is done after contract ratification, paid for by HUD if it's an FHA borrower. If it's not an FHA borrower, the buyer is going to be responsible for obtaining a termite inspection per their lender. Yes?
If the inspection reveals major repairs or the roof needs to be replaced and it wasn't disclosed, can the buyer?
That's a case-by-case basis. HUD doesn't want to take an earnest deposit out of the hands of an FHA borrower, so your FHA borrower is going to have a lot better chance of getting that back, and it depends on the situation. Call your listing agent, and they'll tell you to get some documentation, show that roof inspection, send in the proper paperwork requesting that cancellation, or better yet, since it is such a great deal, and we've seen that, we see the HUD homes that are great deals, they can add that as an escrow repair and have that paid after close of escrow. If it's a conventional owner-occupant, then they don't have the same kind of protection on earnest money as an FHA borrower, and then a cash investor, if the roof does need to be replaced, they most likely won't get back that earnest deposit. That is HUD's call, but we're not seeing those returns. And it makes sense. Investors, they can tell what kind of roof they're looking at, guys that are driving up to the house. They're pretty savvy.
All right.
What if you mentioned something about a generator?
Yes, get with a home inspector that has a generator and call around. As a local listing broker, we try not to recommend home inspectors because, you know, that whole thing as far as it's not our area of expertise. But call around with your home inspector and see if they have a generator that they can hook up to the house to have the electricity turned on for the inspection. That's a real good phone call thing.
But you don't want to rely on that because then you're getting into the hands of a liability. If that compressor were to be turned on, something happens. So I would get the utilities on in your own fashion by the buyers. Okay. Thank you very much, Tim. Appreciate that. Okay, prior to close of escrow, buyer cannot do a few things, and you all need to realize that they cannot do any home improvements, repairs, landscape modifications, or anything like that. They must not occupy the property. They must not change the locks. So always have them change the locks at the close of escrow, not before. And they may not store personal property on the premises. That's always strictly prohibited and not allowed. Okay, HUD's designated closing agents for this area. You can find them online at blbresources.com. In the middle of the HUD page, homepage, there is a closing escrow information of who the closing agent is. You can go there and find it out. Contracts, do they scare you? If you look like this guy when you're looking at a contract, that's exactly how a REO contract looks like. And it's pile high of stuff there. But really, on a HUD contract, it's very simple. It's one page with a few addendums. These HUD contracts are available on HUDhomestore.com, or you can get them on blbresources.com. Either way, they're available readily for you. Now, here's what I highly recommend. Always use the BLB Resources package when you get a contract, and here's why. Here's how a HUD contract looks like. It's a one-page contract, and I know you cannot see anything from where you're at. I can't even see anything from here, but I'm not going to test my vision. I do want to show you this. This is a worksheet, okay? So in your contract, electronically, you will see this